gentlemen, welcome to episode 69 of Uncensored. I am your host, Keith Andrew, along here with Sage Devlin, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Now, for people who want to know what Uncensored is, Uncensored's my way to show people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and let me rephrase that. Overcome controversy and reach my goals in life, at the same time turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. You should never label yourself or have people label you. You should prove to them you can still amount to something, and that's basically the whole statement I'm making. And now for people... Yeah, I agree with you. Now for people who want to know if this is a link, official talk show, unofficial talk show. It's unofficial right now. I'm trying to turn it into an official talk show. A lot of people think it is an official talk show already. But no, it's whatever people want to say, official, unofficial, whatever. It's uncensored. You can curse if you want to, say anything you want to, and it's just your time. It's whatever you want to do. And so starting off, and by the way, if you have any questions for me, you're more than welcome. Are you still there?
Huh?
Oh, you still there?
Yeah, I am, but sure.
At least when we're in person, we wouldn't be freezing when we're talking.
Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah. Do you live in New York, too?
I'm an hour and a half away from there. Do you ever been to West Point, Woodbury Commons?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been, but I know, kind of where it is.
It's around that area.
Okay.
So we should hang out one day.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ever in the city, let me know and we can have a interview. So another second interview.
All right. Now, what can you tell me about yourself? You were saying you have a green thumb, and for our listeners who didn't catch all that because it was fading in, fading out, freezing, if you don't mind repeating yourself, yeah.
Sure. So, I like to plant flowers and plant plants. I like to garden. I'm trying to start a garden in my backyard in Brooklyn right now, but it's kind of like I have a lot of stuff to do, so it's on the back burner for now, but... I like hiking, I like being outside,
Yeah, it's funny you said... It's funny you said mention you like gardening. My grandfather, before he passed away, he used to grow his own tomatoes.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've been trying to do that. I want to do that, but it's kind of too late in the summer. I need to, raise some garden beds, and that's going to take forever, so I don't know if I can this summer, but hopefully next summer.
Well, if you ever need help with it, I can always help you if you're interested.
Right, yeah, if you want to come to Brooklyn, I'm all for it.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you, were you athletic? Did you do a lot of sports? You mentioned, well, before we get to that, you mentioned you were a country girl, so... I guess you have to be athletic if you're a country girl, right?
Well, yeah, I'm not, super coordinated. I'm not super athletic or good at sports. I run and I do yoga and stuff, so I am, active, but I wouldn't say I'm athletic necessarily. I'm a theater person, so I grew up doing drama club and stuff instead of playing sports in high school, so.
All right. Yeah, I'm the same way, not that coordinated either. I was mostly in the audio visual department. I'm constantly making videos. That's how I came up with my talk show.
Yeah.
You mentioned you were an actor. How did you get into that? Was it because you were a part of the drama club?
I actually think I was kind of in it always. I always kind of wanted to be an actor. Since I was really, really little. And I had been doing community theater since I was about 8 years old, or 7 years old, I think. So kind of from an early age I was doing it, and now I'm just trying to trying to hustle and make it work in New York City, but it's certainly not easy. I have had a couple jobs, but I'm trying to really amp things up. It's really hard.
The last person I interviewed mentioned something that you'd probably be interested. Usually when I'm on Skype, I don't think I can get incoming calls. So I basically called someone like, what is it? It's 2 o'clock now. So you left off where you say you were part of the drama club and you were talking about how you were an actress and you had 2 jobs. And I was going to tell you, the last person I interviewed mentioned something in the city that you would be interested in. It's the, what was it? Central Casting. It's basically, you ever hear of it?
Yeah, it kind of sounds familiar. What is it, though?
It's basically where you want to be an extra. So you go and you sign up.
Yeah, I've done a couple extra works, but I don't like doing extra work because it's a lot of, like, sitting around and, like, waiting, and you don't really get seen or anything, so it's kind of like, it's just boring.
It's better than nothing, right?
Well, yeah, kind of, but you don't really, like, get, like, it doesn't really help you, I feel, it doesn't really help you, like, get, get anywhere, like, if you actually want, like, real parts. Like, it's kind of like you're always just in the background, and you get paid, but I would rather, like, be on my feet and working and interacting with people than, like, waiting around, So that's why, right now I wait tables, but I'm looking to get a job somewhere else. It's a little more creatively stimulating.
Hey, if you're interested, a lot of people told me I should hire an intern to help me out.
Yeah? Well, if you want to pay me $20 an hour.
Well, if you like to be my personal assistant, help me find people, maybe we can work something out.
Yeah, maybe. I'll think about that. I don't know if I'm very... the problem is I'm not very organized. I'm a little bit all over the place. So I don't know if I'd be the best personal assistant.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Thanks.
Now, I was going to ask you before, did you do sports? And you mentioned you were a country girl. And I don't know, not to sound redundant and repeating myself, but whatever. Repeat myself. It's only an episode. Did you ever do volleyball, track?
I never did volleyball, except for, like, in gym class when I had to. Or in track, too. I didn't really do track, but I was pretty good at the hurdles in gym class, I remember. But I didn't ever do, I was not really on any sports teams in high school at all.
All right. What about when you were in college? So, it's an oxymoron on my part. I was gonna say, what were you got major in? But obviously, it's theater.
Yeah, I majored in theater, and my school that I went to was super theater oriented. We didn't even have sports at my college.
That's weird. Most colleges have sports, but
yeah, I went to school in the city at Marymount, Manhattan, and they had intramural sports a little bit, but they didn't really do any serious sports, because it was mostly actors there and dancers and stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was fun sometimes. A lot of work.
There's one school in the city I was interested in. I have a book of myself I can show you after. It's the New York Art Institute.
Where's that?
Here, hang on, I can tell you. I don't know if you can see it, but it's...
Oh, yeah, NIFA. I know that one. I've been in a couple NIFA films.
Did you enjoy it, or...?
Being in the films? Yeah, I did. I had a good time.
Were you the main star, or we were saying extra work?
No, one of them that I was in, I was a very small part, almost like an extra. And then the other one, I was a supporting role.
Alright. Well, experience is experience. That's...
Exactly. And I have them, I gotta make a reel with my clips,
Well, I am a video maker, so if you need help with doing that...
I might take you up on that. What I first have to do is get some films under my belt so that I'm in some stuff, and then I could send all the stuff to you, and you could edit it for me. I would totally be into that.
Yeah, I'm a good person. And you don't have to pay me or anything, unless you want to.
Please, I would probably pay you a little bit at least.
Now, when you were in college, were you a party animal, study nerd?
I wouldn't say I was a study nerd. I, worked pretty hard, but my college was, not your typical, most of my classes were, theater classes, so it was a lot of, collaborative studying and, rehearsing for things rather than, paperwork and stuff. So I did spend a lot of time, at school, in the studios, rehearsing with other people, doing scene work and stuff. But, I definitely partied a lot, too. Lost me a little. Yeah, I partied, but never, too crazy.
All right. Well, a lot of people refer to this as cheerleading. A lot of people think as an activity. I think it's human art or just fun in general. Did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids, or are you not a human pyramid girl?
Actually, I had an audition for a job that I ended up getting where we had to do a human pyramid in the audition. So, I've done that. Not in school, really, but yeah, I've done human pyramids. Who hasn't?
I'm a loser. I always wanted to do one.
You never did one?
No, unless you want to help me out.
Hey, if you need me, I'm good to be on the top because I'm small.
Well, you meant, well, can you talk about it, or was it just something...
I mean, yeah, it was just kind of we had to put a little skit together of some kind, and we all just were well, we'll do a human pyramid at the end. I don't think it was a huge human pyramid. There were only, 6 of us. Not even that many. It might have been, 3. I don't know.
Oh, that's a tiny one.
Huge one.
Well, would you be up for one of those 10-person, or you're better off as a 6?
I mean, I would totally do it if someone organized it. I would do it if it wasn't I mean, I don't know if I'd travel the world to be in a pyramid, but if it was happening and I was there, I would absolutely be involved. I'm not afraid of heights or anything.
Well, for people who want to know, well, I like the human pyramid stuff. I know I'm a loser, but you said you did a skit of it. Was it for one of those cheerleading skits for a movie? Was it for a dancer skit?
No, it was for a kids show. I was in a juggling nutrition show for kids, and so that's what the audition was for. And I forget really the context of it, but we ended up I guess that was probably to show teamwork or something like that.
Right, so it would be for an example, the food pyramid, and for an example, if you...
Good call. It could have been that, actually. It really could have. I just don't remember very well.
Alright, well, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was fun. It was actually one of the most fun auditions I've ever been to.
Well, I've never been on to an audition before. Would you like to tell me, or listeners, what an audition details? Is it a job interview, or is it just basically... Yeah,
it's a lot like a job interview. Pretty much, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And, if you're an actor, you kind of get used to just interviewing because it's, a huge part of the job, you know? But usually they're, different kinds. Some of them you, apply and then they, call you in by appointment. But some of them are just, huge open calls where, tons of people just go and you kind of get in line and then audition, which... I hate those. So I like the appointment ones, but in that case, you just kind of come in and, you always bring your headshot and your resume. And depending on what you're auditioning for, they'll have you sing if it's a musical, or they'll have you, they'll have you do a monologue, or they'll have you read from the show that you're auditioning from. And then you just kind of do it. They'll usually, ask you about yourself a little bit. And then that's it. You say bye. And then you leave. It's not when I did the pyramid thing, it was a callback. So it was, my second interview, my second audition, kind of. So those are usually a little more in depth. You know, you kind of like, a lot of times you'll like work with other people. They try to like get a feel for like whether like two actors will work well together, and they'll pair different people up and stuff like that. So.
Right. Well, two things. Well, you like I said, you look good, by the way. So if you don't have to play with your hair or anything, unless you're
nervous habit.
You're right. Now, also, it looks good now because we were talking, there's no freezing. Unfortunately, there was a text that popped up. You know, you answered, you asked me before, do I always have problems when I do an interview? And it's, it depends on the day. You know, if it's very sunny out, it could be like a solar flare, or it could be just sort of a storm in the area. There's a couple of days where I try doing an interview and there's a thunderstorm in the area. Or it could be a connection. There's always something. Or when it's a good interview, you know, I have my, I don't know where he is. Oh, here it is. I have my cat over there, as I can show you after he starts yelling in the background, or I have someone banging at the door telling me to take out the garbage. So when there's not like a connection, there's always something going on. So it's that's part of the show. Well, it's funny you should mention, but if you have any outfits or pictures or trophies you'd like to show us, you're more welcome to. I would like each episode to be interactive. I'm trying to do the more interactive thing, so if instead of just sitting there or just talking, you can get up and move around, so you don't have to feel like you have to be stationary for one part.
Okay, well, I don't really have any, I don't know what you mean, but I'll show you my plants. How about that?
Okay, sure.
Does that look good? Does that sound good? Okay, these are my succulents right here. They're growing. This is oregano we have growing here in this terracotta pot here. And this is a chocolate mint, so it kind of tastes the ice cream kind of. And then over here I have some bonsai trees. Can you see the flowers?
Yeah, they're really nice.
Thanks. An aloe plant. There's some sage and chamomile over there. And I got a fern over there. So that's my house plants.
Oh, you're wonderful with that. I had a green thumb. I have a brown thumb.
A lot of people seem to have trouble with it. I guess, I don't know. You gotta just water the stuff, I guess. Oh, I shouldn't play with my hair. I get antsy.
No, that's fine. You look good.
Thanks.
You know, I was talking to my parents about, unfortunately, I still live at home. I need to get a studio.
Right.
And it actually had two questions, but I'll stay on one. I don't mean to jump around. I would like to grow things, and we were talking about growing tomatoes like my grandfather did.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a herd of deers.
Yeah, we have a lot of those where I'm from in New Jersey, too. I don't know. You know what I heard is, like, if you plant marigolds around the garden, deers don't like marigolds, I think. So they'll stay away. I heard that.
You know, it's really funny about the deers. This one guy came to my house. He was a repairman. He was fixing something. I don't remember what he was fixing. But he walked out and he came face to face with this deer. And he thought, oh, it's a deer, we'll run away. No, the deer actually came over to him. And he looked at my dad and says, aren't these deer supposed to run away? Looks like he humanized them.
Oh, wait, what?
But basically, if you can humanize a deer by, if you give it respect, if you don't chase it, if you just give it its space, it will get used to you. Yeah. So, like I said, I have a herd of deer that sleep on my property. There's this funny story. I went out and got the mail one day, and there were these two baby deers here in the mailbox. So I was like, okay, I'm just here to get the mail, whatever. And I started to walk back to the house. You can apparently guess what happened. I almost had two baby deers in the house with me.
Oh no, that's funny. That's cute.
there's this, people call it the shelter deer. I don't know if you ever heard of that term.
The what deer?
The shelter deer.
No.
Yeah, it's a weird term. Basically, it's a deer that wanders by itself. It usually helps other deers if they're lost, or I don't know. I'm not a deer whisperer. So one day I was waiting for the school bus, and this deer, like the year before, got used to my brothers waiting for the bus. He used to come over and sniff them and whatever. This deer scared the shit out of me because it came over to me. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not out here by myself. There's someone across the street standing with me. So maybe if I move closer, I can use her for a human shield and I can run away from the deer before it chases me. And the deer walks over to me and it makes this sound. I know it's hard to explain, like this grunting sound.
Whoa.
And I said, fuck this, I'm going back into the house.
I've never heard a deer make a sound before.
Nah, I guess it liked me, but it scared the shit out of me. I didn't know.
We have a lot of deer in Jersey, too. They always run in front of cars.
Unfortunately, the dumb ones.
Yeah, they're all dumb.
Well, if you have any other questions for me, I don't want people to think it's one-sided.
Oh, sure. So what, I'm curious, what kind of learning disability do you have? Does everybody ask that?
A lot. Trying to find the words for it. I'm not that, and God forbid. Basically, I'm like you. Just, I'm a guy, obviously. Apparently. Anyway, I'm like you. Just, I learn at a slower pace.
Okay.
And my biggest thing is I hesitate, or that's the biggest thing, without going into much of a detail.
Do you hesitate because you get nervous, or you feel like you don't know, or?
Well, it's kind of hard to whittle off everything. I always hesitated when I was younger, and when I worked over at North Face, and one thing that helped me over there was I had an excuse to walk up to people, say, hey, do you need any help, blah, 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 blah. And so that helped me with my social anxiety.
Oh, that's great.
And, I do have social anxiety, but, it comes in and goes.
Well, it seems like this is probably really good for it, too.
Right.
You're definitely, at least, you're trying to conquer it and, do your thing instead of, letting it rule you. I think that's really cool.
Oh, I appreciate it. Without going into much details, but for the most part, when someone tells me to say, okay, here's a book or a script, go in the corner and read it, I'm more hands-on. So if
differently.
Right, for example, if you sat there with me, so you need to explain it, this is what we're going to do, and you have to do this, and it's hands-on, not to sound like a porno thing or anything, sick people think, they joke about that for me. What do you mean hands-on? What do you mean hands-on word? Anyway, that's how I learn, it takes me longer to do things on my own, but it's more, trying to find the word, stimulus.
Yeah.
For it to be, do this and do that. And like you said, doing the talk show, it's a great therapy.
It's a good exercise. Yeah, good therapy. That's cool. My sister has dyslexia. But so does my dad, actually. So, I have it, a tiny bit, but not, a lot. But I definitely, growing up had, trouble with, letters and spelling and stuff like that. So, my family is, kind of in with, knows a little something about that stuff, too. Obviously a different learning disability, but, it's not really, it's a different sort of intelligence is, the way, the way it kind of is. my sister can't really, like, she's horrible with letters and stuff, but she's, like, this amazing, my dad, too, is, like, amazing artist, you know? Like, they just think differently, they'll learn differently, so.
Yes, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
You got.
It's great, actually.
Yeah, for me, we're gonna meet a lot of hypocrites out there. For a perfect example, I had to do my talk show over because when I did it a year ago, and like I said in my other interviews, the stupid part of my part, because it wasn't what we're doing now, it was a phone conversation. Don't ask me why, it seemed like a good idea at the time. And people are like, well, what is your audience? What is your demographics? What is this? What is that? Why don't you have any sponsors? Why aren't you as bigger as you are? And I couldn't get any sponsors, so I had to do it over. And thanks to you, we're up to episode 69, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
And I know I got a lot of people saying you're doing the right thing, you have a great format.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to get into the media, trying to get like an article in the paper. Or,
always the hardest part.
Right, because they're not always interested. They say, oh, well, you're doing this, but we have better things to do. Let's talk about rape and murders and killings. Like, who the hell wants to read that morbid shit?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Yeah, it's hard to get, like, started and to get, like, I have kind of the same thing with my acting. Like, I'm doing all this stuff and I'm doing what I can, but, like, and my music, too. Like, I'm writing my music and trying to produce it, but then who's gonna pick it up, you know? Like, that's the hard part. The business side of it is what I'm struggling with, too.
Well, it's a good thing, well, not really a good thing, but it's kind of funny you should mention your music. What type of music do you write?
That's a good question. I kind of, like, really would love to be the front girl of like an all-girl punk rock band, but whenever I write music, it doesn't always come out like that. It's kind of like poppy rock, kind of, I guess. And I have a couple songs written, and I work with this guy who kind of helps me lay it all down, and we record together and stuff. So we'll see. Hopefully, like, within the, like, year or so, I'll have, like, an EP released or something like that, and then maybe that's a good time for our second interview, you know?
All right.
I'll have a little more excitement going on.
No, you're doing good. I hope I'm not boring you or anything.
Not at all.
Well, I asked you a lot of easy questions. Now I'm going to ask you a couple of hard-hitting ones. You're okay with that? The first one is, do you believe in karma?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, maybe. I guess I don't really know. I don't really think about it too much. I would say probably not. Not that, like, when it happens, I'm always like, oh, interesting. I believe a little bit, like, I think you should always do the right thing, and, like, regardless, without, like, oh, it's gonna come back, without thinking, like, oh, it's gonna come back to me. But, yeah, because you try to do the right thing, but as much as you try, that doesn't always mean that something good is going to work out for you, you know?
That's true. Now, this would affect you more than me because I'm upstate. Now, this past weekend, they had this march or parade across the Brooklyn Bridge, I think it was. And well, first question is, how did you feel about that? And the second is, did that bother you? Where do you stand on that?
Honestly, I didn't even know about that. What is it? I don't know.
I think it was either one or two things, but I think it was the shooting where the guy was selling loose cigarettes and the cops shot him for no reason. And there's another one going on where the cops have basically got into a fight, but I try not to watch the news, so I'm not trying to stir anything up.
I'm honestly not very hip to that story, but I do think that, like, I think the, like, cop shootings are getting a little bit out of control. Like, I think that you know, we need to really assess, like, when, I think, personally, like, guns are too readily available in this country, and, like, I know there's a huge controversy over that, but, like, of course cops are going to have guns. I just think that, like, if it's a kid, weigh it. Is this really a life or death situation? Like, that's why cops have guns, to defend themselves. Like, they don't have them, you know, so that they can, like, punish people. Like, that's not their job. Their job is to enforce the law, you know? So, I don't know. I think that's kind of, like, obviously not good. But also, I don't really know a lot about the story, so I really, like, can't really make too much of an educated statement on that, unfortunately.
All right. Now that you did bring up the next subject on gun control, I think, you know, I always say in my interviews, if the person's a convict, and I don't give a shit if they say, oh, well, he served his time and now he's reinformed, or he's now a normal person of society, save that shit for someone who cares. If someone is a convict, felon, or in my case, someone who has a learning disability, mentally disturbed, or whatever, these people should be on a list of being banned from having the rights to have their Second Amendment. So now you gotta get to say, oh, it's my right, Second Amendment bullshit. I do support the Second Amendment, but if you're in danger, if you're mentally well, I'm not. Well, if there's someone who's mentally nuts or a criminal, they should be on a list. Basically, what it comes down to, it's money, and they look the other way, they turn a blind eye.
Yeah, it's a little corrupt. Yeah, I don't know, like, that's a hard question. Like, I honestly, like, don't know, like, you know, like, even if someone is a convicted felon and they're out, you know, like, can they get a gun? I mean, I guess, like, the whole point is, like, you did serve your time. Like, I get that people might be frustrated from that, but I also feel like there's just as much danger in someone who hasn't been convicted yet, you know? Like, so it's kind of like, well, where do you draw the line? Like, that is a hard question. I just think what guns are used for, like, need to be regular. I guess, I don't know. I just think that you're right, not everyone should be able to have a gun, and more importantly, like, I know now, like, everybody wants to, like, take, down south at least, everyone wants to, like, take their guns out in public and all that business. It's like, come on, no, that's not good. No, we don't need that. People say it's for self-defense, but, like, or to, like, save someone if they were in trouble, but the problem is guns escalate situations. So no matter what, if you have a gun and maybe you are coming to someone's rescue, like, there's another way to solve that. Like, you know, call the police. Friends from fine, but, like, also, you know, bad things could happen, so.
Right. Well, I do support the Second Amendment, and, you know, I did say this in past upper interviews, and I do support it. You do have the right to kill in self-defense. Only in self-defense. If your wife is threatened, your family is threatened, you have to protect yourself. And it doesn't even really matter if you say, because we're talking about gun control, it doesn't really matter. If your life is in danger, you have the right to protect yourself. Period. Now, wrapping up, do you have any funny stories you like to say, or do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners?
Funny stories. I don't know if I have any funny stories, but I do know that I would like to say, not that I don't think I have any fans yet, but if you are my fan and follow my music, I'm starting a website. It's going to be up pretty soon. Visit www.sagedevlin.com. KeithAndrewNetWork.devlin.com, and on there is going to be all my acting stuff, all of my music hopefully soon, and hopefully I'll be working on more stuff, so feel free to check it out. It'll probably be ready in about a month. So that's all I have to say. And for everyone out there, like, I've been struggling lately, and just, it's hard. Life, being an adult is hard, and so everyone out there doing it, like you, Keith, like, keep on trucking. Good for you. Like, I think that what you're doing is really great.